Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Move Daily Talks. I'm your host, Tracy Steen. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Ashley Dwyer. Ashley is a licensed pharmacist, certified health coach, and founder of Team BDN Coaching, where she helps women restore metabolism and hormones at their root. This is an interesting shift. Like, she was a pharmacist and now she has stepped away from that and into coaching. And one of the quotes on her Instagram account, which I love, said this: "I refuse to leave a profession handing out drugs all day to one where I hand out supplements all day." So it's not just about the band-aid fix, it's really getting to the root cause. After experiencing her own dysfunction and years of band-aid solutions, she left traditional medicine to create a foundation-first method for sustainable fat loss and optimal health. She is a woman on a mission to help other women really fix that foundation and take your health back. And that's the same concept that we have here at Move Daily Fitness as well. We look at fitness, wellness, and nutrition, and those are our main pillars through which we see things like exercise and diet or nutrition. So I love interviewing experts like this because I feel like we're on the same page. There's that alignment there on what's really important, and it's not just the programming, it's really what we're doing as a preventative measure in order to be our healthiest selves possible. So let's welcome Dr. Ashley to the podcast. Ashley, welcome to our podcast today. So glad that you could join. I was just saying to Ashley ahead of the recording here that I've consumed a lot of her content over on Instagram. So make sure that you follow her over there. She's a little spitfire, I find you. Just like say it as it is. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it might not be for everybody, but I am pretty direct, kind of feisty. It's just how I
Well,
like it.
and that's good because I feel like audiences need direct, these days because there is a lot of misinformation that pops up. And yeah, so it can be very confusing. But as I was just doing your intro there, one of the things that caught my eye about where you've come from is that you were into competing a lot, right? Was it
Yes.
figure or bikini or what was it? Did you do?
Bikini.
Okay, I
Hmm.
did one figure competition back in 2010, one and only. I was like, okay, that eating was way too hard. But I read for you that it kind of messed things up for you. I mean, when you are competing on stage, there's a lot of restriction, and I mean, I'm not sure about you, but back in the day, we did it very extreme. It's, I think some of the strategies might have changed for today,
Yeah.
but you said it really did kind of mess you up. Can we take us back to that time where you really discovered that, wow, how I'm eating, what I'm doing, how I'm training, this is just not working for my body. I'm noticing it. And instead of just putting that band-aid over top to fix it, you decided to go a different direction. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think my first competition was 2011. So we competed around the same time
Okay.
frame where when it was very strict, it was no salt, right?
Yeah.
Like barely any
Yeah.
carbs, strict meal
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah.
It's way more flexible now, I think. And so I did about four shows, my first one in 2011 and my last one in 2015, I believe. So the problem is I never actually went into an improvement season. I never actually reverse dieted. I liked being super tiny and small and
Mm.
like 6 or an 8 pack, right? So I continued to eat this way. And then I graduated in 2014 as a pharmacist, started working as a retail pharmacist, long hours, crazy stress. And I was, admittedly a mid-20s female in South Florida who liked to go out and party and brunch and drink and all the things. And which doesn't go well for a competing diet, but when I was off season, and I just ran my body into the ground, eating really nothing, training 6 or 7 days a week, fasted cardio, doing all these things that I thought I
Yeah.
had to do to stay small. And then also on top of stress, poor sleep, just not really treating my body well. But I thought I was healthy because I looked healthy, right?
Right. Right.
And then it just got to a point where I would have like a venti coffee from Starbucks and I'd want to fall asleep in the pharmacy. And I was like, this isn't
Yeah.
right. Something's not right, right? So we went in, we do blood work, and my labs were atrocious. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, you're probably up to date with like lab values and where they should
Yeah.
be. If
Yeah.
your audience isn't, like, I wasn't doing carbs either at the time very much, but my fasting glucose was like 50 something. My cortisol was 25. My fasting cortisol was so high. My thyroid markers were in the toilet. My hormones were there. So, my fix there as a pharmacist, and I didn't know any better back then, was we're putting you on levothyroxine, right? We're putting you on Synthroid. So I did the Western medical route for a little bit, and we tried all these different doses and added T3 and added, progesterone at one point, and just tried to get everything back to normal with pharmaceuticals, and it just wasn't working. It was many years of fatigue and hair shedding and just not being able to get things right. And then you would go hyperthyroid because your medicine was too strong. So it was just this mess. So it wasn't until I actually changed what we call like your pillars and foundations, same here. It wasn't
Mhm.
until I shifted my actual lifestyle that like, oh, everything started falling in place, and I started to see how I'm supposed to feel and started to feel better. It was just amazing. So obviously I was still a pharmacist at the time, but fell in love with this type of healthcare and prevention. And
Mhm.
here we are.
Yeah. So obviously you saw like a drastic change in everything when you paid attention to those lifestyle factors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say? Like, talk to me about some of those lifestyle factors for you. Like, what were the things that you began to pay attention to that really moved the needle toward your better health?
Yeah, there were three really big ones, I would say. One of them being eating more. Like I had to eat more
Yeah.
calories. I was
Yeah.
sustaining on 1400, 1500. I was even trying, like I got myself up to 1700, and I was like, okay, this is high. I laugh now because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's girlfriend, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So finally getting myself up to like 2000, just eating more, just actually eating more and eating more carbs. I was someone who still feared carbs back then. And so those two kind of go hand in hand for me. So just like taking diet breaks, eating more, feeling better. Like who knew what energy felt like when you're fully fueled? Oh my goodness. And then the second biggest one was taking back my training. So actually going from 6 or 7 days a week to three, maybe
Yeah.
four. No more high intensity training. I had to back off and really give my body the time and energy to recover and heal. I wasn't giving it any food to recover or any time to recover. So again, I was forcing it to run on E. So backing off my training and then sleep. Prioritizing sleep was huge for me. And even still to this day, if I get it's a little high maintenance, but if I get less than 8 hours or 7.5, like I'm useless.
Oh, I know. I feel the same way. Sleep is so crucial. I think a lot of people, maybe in their 30s, 40s, we don't prioritize it as much. Maybe we're trying to build careers and really make that, a priority, or we have
Mhm.
children, they're waking up at night, and so it's disrupting. But then in menopause too, sleep can be disrupted so much,
Yeah.
and we wonder why we're feeling like crap, or why we're not recovering well, or why we're not losing fat as fast as we want to, and sleep can have such a big impact on that. So what's your guidance around sleep? What do you tell people in order to help
Yeah.
them?
So I think this is an interesting subject too, because I think we could probably do a podcast on our own
Yeah.
on this subject. But I think that it depends on the person and like why they're waking up, why we're not able to sleep. But I would say everyone needs a diligent sleep hygiene routine. So we need to like start winding down for bed, turning off, blue light. I'm still a blue light but warm person. I don't have glasses, but I do have a routine that gets me in the moment of like, okay, bedtime is soon. The room is super dark. I wear an eye mask. It's really cold. I have a sound machine like magnesium glycinate.
But all
Uh,
the things.
all the things. I don't do anything in my bed except for sleep. Like I always tell clients, I say, bed is sleep for sleep and sex. Like that is it. We read and we, watch TV, and we do all of that on the couch. And then when we're ready to go to bed, we go to bed so that your body knows when you're in bed, it's time to sleep. So just
Yeah.
creating that habitual awareness and routine in your body. I try really hard to have the same like bedtime and wake up time so that my circadian rhythm also gets into alignment and my body is on like that clock. It's very regular. And I think that really helps with sleep as well as getting up in the morning and getting sunshine in our eyeballs so that
Mhm.
we can start the process just from the morning.
Yeah, I'm trying to do all of those things too. I do notice that having a dog in the bed is not ideal. Like, I set it up wrong when we got her as a puppy. And so, yeah, folks, get the dog out if you want to optimize that sleep, because it can really disrupt as well. I want to go back to a little bit of what you said, that people really fear carbs. And here's the thing, you say it was crucial for you to add calories to your diet because you were underfueling your body. So you weren't recovering well. There was nothing to fuel your workouts. So I agree with all of that. that carbs are the fuel source. Like it's important to have it, and that we shouldn't vilify carbs. And yet, an overconsumption of carbs, of course, is going to, or overconsumption of calories is
Hmm.
going to, add weight. And one of the ways that we can bring our overall calorie intake into that deficit is by minimizing carbs. So what's your coaching on that? Because it's yeah, I mean, they're not the enemy, and yet if they are reduced a little bit, it makes weight loss or fat loss a little bit easier anyway.
We track macros as a team.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys,
Yeah.
if you track calories or macros. So it's really easy for us to give a client a goal and then have them stick with it, or at least be able to monitor intake there to see what is too much and what isn't enough. I will say I never really go super low on carbohydrates for clients. Like for myself specifically, and why I needed them is because I do have a thyroid issue and carbs are really important for conversion. So, and just activity and muscle. But we do have clients where I give them a little more fat. Like it depends on their disease state. If we have insulin resistance, if we have maybe some perimenopause, if we are just kind of battling a situation where a little bit higher fat versus carbs would be better, then I do that for sure. But I also like to educate on the importance of whole carbs, like not minimally processed, no added
Right.
sugar. So we're getting in a fiber goal. I also attach like fiber is my fourth macro for our clients to track. So we're making sure that they're eating more whole foods and not just processed carbohydrates that everyone thinks are the bad guys.
Do you think that if you have so say you wanted to lose weight and you set a calorie deficit, say the calorie deficit led you to about 1,600 calories per day, that you choose your protein target based on your weight, height, and what you're doing. We suggest, recommend anywhere between 1.2 and 1.6 plus grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, as somewhere in that range. And then once you've done that, is it okay to sort of say, okay, based on, I heard you say, based on the disease state or based on your preference, you can alter your carbs and fat as the
Mhm.
remainder calories. Is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely.
Suggesting?
That's what we do. Yeah. I
Yeah.
do protein first and then I do fat next. So either 30% from calories or 35 if we need to bump
Yeah.
it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the rest is carbohydrate.
Can you talk then about, okay, you said it quickly there, but I'd love to just hear because some people are in a certain disease state. So
Mhm.
which percentage, I guess, breakdown of fats with carbs would be more beneficial for someone in a specific state?
So I would say we work a lot with general population, not
Yeah.
really a lot with athletes or anything like that. So in Gen Pop, I find that women don't have yet a really good strength training or movement routine. If they do, we need more carbs in that clientele. I work a lot with PCOS clients, pre-diabetics, also some insulin resistance and perimenopause. So in that realm, we do find a lot more insulin shifting and I can't speak, blood glucose regulation when we're in like those roller coaster years and estrogen's declining. So in that patient population, those patient populations, I generally lean a little higher than 30% from fat, like 30% of calories from fat. I do go up to 35. And
Mhm.
then if I need to modify it, we do based on biofeedback in the check-ins. Like if we do have, let's say, no gallbladder, or let's say we have some digestive issues with breaking down fat or high cholesterol, and we need to watch fat and saturated fat. So again, it's going to be determinant on the
Dependent.
client, but that is like a good general guideline because if we're not doing as much activity yet, we don't need as many carbs.
Right. And, so I think of the menopausal woman who often sees a bump in their LDL cholesterol in menopause. I know I
Right.
have, and I feel like I am the epitome of health. And I'm like, what? Why is the LDL a little bit high? Overall, cholesterol was good and HDL was high. So I'm okay there. But still, you can see that in your labs and you're like, okay, that's not ideal. So, yes, paying attention to saturated fat all of a sudden just became a little bit more important. Of course,
Mhm.
with estrogen dropping, we're like, okay, if you're not moving as much, like maybe carbs should be a little bit lower. So would you say that maybe that same concept would apply to those in menopause and postmenopause as it does to perimenopause?
Yeah, and I would say in menopause, I feel like you can get away with a little more too in menopause because we don't have as much, unless you're on HRT, then it's a different conversation. But if you are not doing any hormone replacement and you're just already in menopause, we know that estrogen is bottomed out, progesterone is low. So we do have less insulin sensitivity. We do see
Right.
that slight bump in LDL. But what I like to do there is then run a little bit more labs. So something that's not really ran is ApoB, so
Right.
apolipoprotein B. And then we can actually see like, okay, is this LDL bad or is it just the slight bump from menopause? Do we really need to worry about it? Maybe add in some more cardiovascular exercise just to help with that and more fiber. So
Yep.
I don't like to get rid
Yeah.
of, I don't like to get rid of carbs because it's the only place to get fiber. And I think that is so beneficial, even in up to menopause, even at any age. So I think, everyone has a different opinion, but I don't really think an LDL of like 130 in a lot of cases is room for worry. But my old Western medicine self might have been like statin immediately. Now I've
Yeah.
kind of changed gears on that.
Well, and it's so nice that so much can shift with a different diet approach, right?
I know there's not really the data is weird on this, but I think if you have higher HDL, it's
Yeah,
not
kind
something
of
maybe that could be, yeah,
takes care of itself almost.
kind of.
Um, yeah, I know. I interviewed not doctor, dietitian. She's a heart health dietitian, Michelle Ruthenstein, a couple times on the podcast. And like, yeah, just watching the blood panel or lab markers, everything change in people by a shift in their nutrition when it's like a dedicated shift. Even at 3 to 6 months, they're seeing just tremendous
Mhm.
difference. And yet, so many people just don't do the low hanging fruit, the light in the eyes, the sleep routine, the fiber foods. Why is this? Why don't we do the things that are low hanging? Because maybe they're not easy.
Tracy, if I knew, we would be billionaires by now. Like if I knew how to sell that and reverse it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't, I mean, I get it. I think there's so much, like we were saying at the beginning, there's so much information online that you don't know who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah,
So many of demonization of Western medicine, so much demonization of holistic healthcare. And obviously, I think everything requires nuance. If my
yeah.
answer to everything is always, it depends. And so people hate that.
Yeah, they want conclusive.
We,
One of the things I loved, one of your quotes was, "I refuse to leave a profession handing out drugs all day to one where I now hand out supplements all day." So talk to us about that. Ashley, of course, was a pharmacist, and she's like, "I am not now going from drugs to giving you every supplement on the shelf." What's your thoughts on supplements?
gonna say if I had sleeves, we'd be rolling them up right now.
Them fighting
Okay.
words.
Man, I mean, it's so funny too, being a pharmacist where I was totally in for every supplement, wanted the fat burners, wanted all of that. And then I just
Yeah, right.
learned better and I became more educated. Supplements are not regulated like drugs, right? They kind
No.
of come with these safe manufacturing practices, but the clinical effectiveness, we don't really know what's in the bottle. It's just crazy how I've shifted from what I call like handing out band-aids over a counter to now handing out band-aids in wellness. Still feel like everyone wants this like one quick hit of this
Yeah.
supplement that's going to take care of their appetite, this
No.
peptide that's going to work out for them, this just something that's going to heal whatever they think they need to heal without actually doing the work.
Mhm.
And it's still become a quick fix society. It always has been, but just it's so everyone's just so leaning into supplements. And I will not do it. I only do supplements if we are deficient on blood work, if we've tried all the things, and then we actually need supplemental help, right?
Right. Right.
Otherwise, we're just also clogging up your liver. You're probably spending a lot of money. Like, I also have a quote, speaking of being sassy, that you probably just have the most expensive urine on your block.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy. It's easy. Well, people will post that. Here's my stack. Now, speaking of regulated and unregulated, and you just mentioned it, but I definitely want to jump into this conversation about peptides because they are trending in the wellness space right now. I did a coaching call on it recently in our membership just to give a brief overview because like even like I knew that insulin and like GLP-1s were peptides, but I didn't realize there was this whole new, orchestra of peptides that people are now purchasing and trainers are now suggesting. And so let's go into this conversation. I would love to have you explain what are peptides, Which ones are safe? Which ones aren't? What do we need to be on the lookout for? Let's talk all about peptides.
Ooh, let me do my due diligence and say I am not a peptide expert by any means, and they are obviously not FDA regulated. So, pharmacists don't know anything unless you do your own research.
Right.
So, basically, at the gist, peptides are naturally occurring amino acid sequences that are in the body. And so insulin, like you said, oxytocin, vasopressin, all of these are also peptides that are drugs because they've been taken out, they've been given exogenously, and we know that they work. There's data behind them. The new craze is regenerative peptides. So longevity, wellness, youth, beauty, right? How do we reverse aging? How do we reverse our mitochondrial age? How do we, regrow tissue? And so some of that sounds amazing, but it is still so new. Like I hear the complaint, like we've been studying peptides for hundreds of years, like 100 years. And like, yes, insulin was 100 years ago, but this peptide was not, right?
Yeah.
Like BPC 157 was not. And so
Right.
there's a lot of animal data. There's a lot of animal and rodent data in some of these peptides, but there's very, very, very limited human trials. And I think that, the bodybuilder community is always the community that comes out with things first. They try things. They are the guinea pigs of the health and wellness industry. So I will admit that sometimes they find amazing things before science does
Mhm.
because studies and funding and all of that takes so long. And this is why I don't think we'll properly have human trials for peptides for a while.
Mhm.
But I think the concern is, and just like GLP-1s, which are a drug, I do think that people need all of the data and then they can make their own informed decision. So up until now, most peptides are unregulated. They're made by compounding pharmacies who kind of do their own thing, do their own dilution, their own dosing. It has to say not for human consumption on it or for research purposes only because it's not regulated, right? So
Well,
it can be kind of sketchy what you're injecting yourself with. I don't know if I feel confident in saying that any of them are safe, like
mm,
safe.
yeah.
I know the ones with the most data are going to be BPC 157, tesamorelin, but that has an FDA approval for something totally different than what people are trying to take it for in the wellness industry. But I do fear with things like BPC 157 and regenerative tissue growth is that you're also growing unhealthy tissue. You don't get to choose which tissue
Right.
is growing. So it could
Okay.
exacerbate tumor growth or
Right.
anything like that we have going on.
Thanks.
So for me, I'm just not at the point where I'm comfortable enough with some of these to take them myself. Or I have a couple of clients who have taken ones for injury and repair, like TB 500 and BPC 157, but in injectable forms and into like the joint space specifically, not really oral, not anything like that.
No.
GHKCU is another really popular one that's in like a glow stack for women for beauty and regeneration. And there's no data really in the injectables, very limited, but there is data in the topical GHKCU. So I'm like, okay, I might use topical face cream with this copper peptide in it, right?
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
I think it's just a cost, a, like a risk cost benefit analysis
Yeah.
of like whether we try it or not, or if we're even getting what it says we're getting because of dosing and it being not regulated. So RFK just did change 14 of them to category 1 versus
Right.
category 2. So now they won't have for research purposes only on them, and prescribers can start prescribing them if they feel comfortable in doing so. But I don't know how many will do it without significant clinical data. I think that will still be the holdup for pharma.
Okay. With GLP-1, so if someone injects something like Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro, and a lot of the research has shown that when they stop taking the drug, then obviously it stops increasing GLP-1 in the brain, and people often will gain weight back. Is it the same mechanism for something like the BPC 157, or you said some people that you had clients or some people that you knew took drugs to help them heal tissue or cartilage, would that then revert? Is it the same mechanism like for these stacks that people are using?
That's an interesting question. That I don't have a confident answer on.
Mm.
I wouldn't, like, my instinct is I don't think so. Like, once you've healed the tissue, I think that the injury is healed, right?
Right, right.
I don't think we'd revert, but that is simply because we're increasing like the type of peptides we need for repair and for tissue
Right.
growth. So I don't think that would reverse, but obviously we wouldn't be repairing anything else. We wouldn't be lowering inflammation anywhere else, working on gut health anywhere else. I think it depends on the peptide. If you stop the beauty peptide, yes, you'll
Right.
stop copper side effects. So I do think a lot of them are just while you're taking them, but
Right.
for tissue repair or injury repair, that might be
Might be
actually.
different. Yeah.
Mhm. I would think so.
Um,
I need to look that up and confirm
yeah.
before your
Yeah.
audience is like,
I
amazing.
just, well, I just thought of that. I'm like, I wonder if it's like Ozempic, where if you stop it, then you don't get the benefits, you know? It's interesting with the beauty stuff. I know I've been sent a few things with peptides in it, and I'm like, really? Does it work? I don't know. I guess just more study needs to come out on all of this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation yesterday with someone about the GLP-1s and the peptides or specifically GLP-1s. And he had kind of mentioned like, it scares me that people are just going to keep cycling them and they're never going to get off. And I was like, well,
Mm.
they're supposed to be a maintenance medication. Like they're not
Right.
supposed to come off of them. So I
Right.
think that shocks a lot of people when they hear like, oh, we're supposed to take this forever. That's how it works. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's how we would take a statin likely forever if you
Yeah.
had high blood pressure, or, that's insulin if you have type 1 diabetes. Although I just heard on TikTok today about something with type 1 diabetes. Something's being reversed, and there's one person that I don't know. Did you hear this?
I
I don't know if
didn't.
it's real. I don't,
That would be
she
incredible.
I know it was reverse type. I mean, and who knows, even if it was AI. This is the thing with nowadays is like all of this bloody AI, and how do you know if it's real? Like I look down in the name, make sure it's verified, but it's going to be easier and easier to get scammed, people. We have to keep our Sherlock Holmes glasses on.
I don't even, it's so hard for even me to see sometimes what is real and what isn't. And like, there was this funny video of like bunnies on a trampoline that was AI. And I was like,
Oh
so sad
yeah.
that it was AI.
I think we all saw that. We're like, oh my goodness, look at them go. It's
I got
real.
two.
And then, yeah. And then everyone's like, no. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, but
Um,
the before and afters are scary. That's where women,
well,
I
I
feel, are getting
know.
preyed on.
I know. Well, I think that's exactly it. We are going to get preyed on because it's an unrealistic beauty standard. And,
Hmm.
we're already so hard on ourselves. Then to see someone who's constantly perfect and constantly regenerated and constantly wrinkleless, but yeah, we just got to keep things in reality and look at the people around us. Um, how can we balance our hormones? I'm just kidding. I know
I
you.
love it.
I'm just kidding. But a lot of people ask that question. How do I balance my hormones? And then a lot of people sell an answer to that, which is false. Talk to us about that.
Man, if you're just listening to this and not watching the video, the look that Tracy just gave me for balancing was hilarious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that part, I don't want to sound any type of condescending or anything, but like what hormones? What are we talking about? Which ones are we trying to balance? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's only, I think, honestly, there would be two hormones that I would think we could balance, but not even with
Okay.
each other, just
Hmm.
separate. And if I wanted to, I use balance lightly, but most of these supplements are to balance our sex hormones. And I'm like, what does that even mean? That's not even a thing. So, I really want to know like what hormones people want to optimize. I
Right.
would say insulin, we can balance, we can regulate throughout the day through blood sugar and eating and carb consistency and stress and all of that. We can like regulate insulin. And cortisol, I don't think we can balance cortisol, but I like to use the term balance when it refers to cortisol, as in like balancing your stressors. We need to
Right.
have enough recovery along with that. We need enough parasympathetic with the sympathetic to balance that out. And that is how I would refer to cortisol. But as far as balancing them all together in our body,
Yeah. Why
it's
do people use that language? What do you think they're really asking for
I
when they
think
say
they're
that?
asking to just feel better. And in
Yeah.
most cases, I see it have to do with sex hormones, right? Like we're lowering estrogen or increasing progesterone, trying to get better PMS symptoms. I see more of the balancing when it comes to sex hormones, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it's like getting your hormones tested when I mean, I fell for this too, getting a Dutch test. I
Yeah.
did, I don't know. And so it tells you what your hormones were for that time, but I was in perimenopause and they were like all over the place. Like how is that relevant? I yeah, are you maybe you're not for Dutch testing, are you?
I do Dutch testing, but
Okay.
where it's appropriate. So if
Okay.
you told me you're in perimenopause and we don't have normal cycles, we don't have, right? Then I would not have you do a Dutch test or even sex hormone, like blood work. I don't have my clients on birth control do that blood work. If we don't have a normal cycle, I really don't have them do blood work. I will say there are certain pieces of the Dutch test that I do think are beneficial regardless of where you are
Okay.
in your cycle. And that would just be like the cortisol breakdown, the metabolites, how we're actually where we are in that regard. And then your estrogen detox pathways can be a little interesting. Like, do we have more of the 2 pathway, 4, 16? So looking at that, but sometimes I don't think we need the $600 or however much it is these days to do
Yeah.
that, to know that like, okay, this client has like a sluggish liver, or I do a lot more GI map testing in my program than I do Dutch testing.
Okay. And what I haven't heard of GI map testing. What is that?
Oh, it's a stool test.
Okay.
We get really
Yeah.
personal with our
Yeah.
clients.
Oh, I've had the fit test before in Canada. It's called the fit test where you're testing for polyps or inconsistencies, I guess, whatever, not polyps, but so yeah, what's the difference here?
So a GI map tells you your microbiome, viruses, candida, parasites. It will tell you everything going on in the large intestine. So if there's dysbiosis, good and bad bacteria, if we need more of whichever realm, right? And then it will also tell you your intestinal health markers. So it'll tell you how much inflammation you have, your enzymatic activity, and if it's low or high, how you digest fat. It'll tell you your levels of beta glucuronidase, which will let us know how we are detoxing estrogen through the stool, if we are or if we aren't. It will tell you if you have leaky gut or like increased intestinal permeability. It tells us our immune system function in our gut, our secretory IgA. So it can give us a lot of information. It's not, this is where I like toe the line on, am I completely evidence-based or not? Because I don't think GI maps are, there's a lot of people who don't love them the same way they don't love Dutch tests.
Mhm.
But we have been able to help so many women with digestive issues, estrogen dominance, all these issues just through a stool test protocol. And so if they need it, again, I recommend it, but
You
it
see,
is
it's
expensive.
valuable. It's valuable.
Mhm.
You talked about inflammation in the gut. I think for a lot of people who have, chronic stress, maybe they don't add enough recovery into their training, but maybe they just eat like crap and they just haven't eaten properly. That's going to cause this inflammation in the gut. So, yeah, so I'm guessing that a lot of your suggestions to them when you see it there plain and you can show them on a chart, like this is what's happening inside. What's your first order of business with them? How do you begin to shift and reduce this inflammation within?
Yeah, so depending on what's on their GI map, we have them do a 12 to 16 week protocol. So that is my only qualm with these GI maps is if someone is going to spend the money to do one and we run one, I need you to be so, it's kind of strict. Yeah, so good with your protocol for the next 12 to 16 weeks. And this is the only area where I would say we are very supplement heavy because there's not enough food that we could just do and natural elements to heal some of these gut issues, probiotics, kill off some of these pathogens, things like that. So if we do see, most often we have just clients with low stomach acid and that can affect absorption and thyroid, it's a whole downstream effect, iron absorption, all of that. We see clients with really irritated mucosal linings, so that can be part of the inflammation issue, and that is just from standard American life. That's too many NSAIDs or ibuprofen, lots of antibiotics, lots of stress, alcohol, junk food, fast food, right? It just tears away at that lining. We get acid reflux. Most people have H. pylori, which has the acid reflux symptoms. So depending on what we see, we will make sure the pathways and the gut is healed first, like the lining, before we go in and kill off things, because we need you to be able to excrete it if we're killing it off, right? So if we're not pooping every day, if we're already having constipation issues, or our gut is already really inflamed, we'll use protocols like aloe, zinc carnosine, marshmallow root, slippery elm, some of these supplement protocols. glutamine. I'm like really just going through my Rolodex right now of what some of these protocols are. But we'll do some of these to get everything to kind of calm down. We'll increase enzymes at meals if we need to, if enzymatic activity is poor. We'll go into a kill off phase. So maybe we need something really strong, an antimicrobial, or we need just like oil of oregano or berberine, something that can kill off some of the bad pathogens. Reinoculate the gut with good bacteria through specific probiotics. And then most often we end with some short chain fatty acid like butyrate supplementation to get the inflammation down. So what ends up happening is a lot of people are low in a bacteria that produces short chain fatty acids. So we have prebiotics, which is like fiber, probiotics, which is what we supplement the good bacteria in the gut, and then the good bacteria put out a postbiotic. They create like what they excrete is a postbiotic, which are things like butyrate, sodium butyrate, tributyrate, and those help decrease inflammation throughout the body. So if we don't have enough good bacteria feeding or even able to pop this out, then we're not getting those benefits. So we'll supplement with those benefits too to lower inflammation. It's a whole thing.
I was gonna say that sounds like a lot. Like that
It
sounds
is.
like do I want to bother going down that path? Maybe I'll just, the thing is then you might just be okay with feeling like crap. Like who is that for? I guess is what I want to ask. Like who's the person that could just go, okay, I really know I need to increase my fiber. I'm getting 15 grams a day. I would love to bump it up from, to 25, 35 grams a day instead. Um, Clean up, the foods, increase my antioxidants in the food, eat the rainbow. Like who I guess you would see it on these tests that you're doing. But yeah, who's that person that should maybe go down the deeper dive path?
Yeah, so I recommend what you're doing 100% first. I recommend the increasing good foods, increasing fiber a little bit, like trying all of the foundational things, decreasing stress. So many people
Yeah.
don't realize that the gut is just stress related. So if those don't work and we're having extreme bloating, food intolerances, like someone who says they're intolerant to a lot of foods, I might have them do a GI map because no, that's more gut dysfunction than it is food
Okay.
allergies. Like food
Right.
allergy tests is not real to me. I don't love those.
Okay.
We had a client come in with literally chronic diarrhea, like very loose stools every morning, um, could not just have like get it no matter what we did. So we did a GI map and found some pathogenic bacteria and things that like high inflammation. So we fixed all of that and now she's fine.
Mm.
Another client was really optimized. She's actually a coach herself, and the stress was there, definitely. But we noticed this is good for your audience. She was put on HRT and she was having worse side effects than before she got on HRT.
Mm.
And we
Mhm.
narrowed it down to poor estrogen detoxification. She had too much estrogen in her system, even though her normal estrogen was low and she was having side effects from that. But then the replacement was giving her even worse feelings because she
Yeah.
couldn't metabolize it correctly or excrete it correctly. So when we did her GI map, we found high beta glucuronidase. So she was just recycling it. So we were able to, along with some dysbiosis and some other things from stress and just years of chronic dieting and things like that. So we were able to reverse it and see what was going on through her GI map. And now she's good. Now she's trying HRT again. We'd had to take a significant break off of it to let her body come off and then do this gut protocol. And now she's about to try it next month or
Yeah.
mid-month to see if it's on the up and up. And I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people will often miss. They think it's like I should go to the doctor, get one prescription, it should work, one and done. But so often it's a journey of being, trying to figure out the exact dosage, what works for you, how it makes you feel. I
Yeah.
know my sister's tried a whole host of different, I'm speaking about menopause hormone therapy right now, but it's a journey and you have to be open to the journey, I suppose, and keep asking those questions and keep having those conversations with your physician that this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. What
Yeah.
else can we do this different? Because it sounds like when you take a look deeper, I mean, it could be a variety of things that are causing your feelings of ill health.
Absolutely. And I would recommend that every woman nail down the foundations before they start HRT because I think a lot of women think it's going to also be that band-aid approach, and it's not if the foundations are not in place. So it could have you feeling worse.
Yeah.
And I want to avoid that at all costs. And then
Yeah.
even even for myself who has hypothyroidism, undiagnosed adrenal PCOS, but they basically told me I just didn't want to go to another endocrinologist if I'm being so brutally honest with everyone on
Oh,
here.
yeah.
I've probably fired two or three of them at this point, but it is a constant practice of being healthy. Like it never ends. The job doesn't end. Taking care of yourself never ends. So
Well,
you
that's it.
you constantly have to stay within this balance. Like I have clients sometimes who are like, when can I just go back to like my old life? I'm like, never, ever.
Yeah.
Like this is your new identity. Like this is who we have to be healthy. And sometimes that can be a little discouraging, but it's also way more amazing to feel how you feel now than how you felt before, right? So it's worth
Yeah.
it.
I think it's discouraging maybe for people who those around them have a different lifestyle. Like you look at your spouse or your best friend going and drinking and over or eating fun foods or whatever. And not that we can't do those things, from time to time, but I agree with you. This has to be an identity umbrella where it's people like us do things like this forever and ever. Amen. Not just for a season to get to a target weight or goal weight, but truly shifting that identity so that it carries you through those, moments where you don't feel like getting up and training, or you don't feel like choosing the healthier options of your food, or you don't feel like, figuring out your supplement protocol or your hormone therapy. It's got to be that different mindset shift. So let me ask
Absolutely.
you that. What's the biggest mindset shift that you see in women who finally sustain good results? Like, what's that shift look like in your practice?
That shift for the type of clients that we work with is a shift away from all or nothing mindset,
Uh,
all or nothing thinking,
yeah.
where if I can't do it perfect, I'm not going to do it at all. We shift away from that. Like attracts like, and I am a former still, but type A, type A girly, very has to have things planned and controlled and all the things. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist anymore, but I attract a lot of those.
Yeah.
And so these are the ones that have high stress and just kind of we need our nervous systems to regulate. And I would say that is one of the biggest game changers is them just realizing they don't need to be perfect and every day doesn't need to be perfect, but just a sustained consistency. Game changer. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll end with my quote, my favorite one, as my audience already knows, but Ovid says, dripping water on the stone hollows it out, not through force, but through persistence. And it is that shift can happen over time. It doesn't have to be the all or nothing, like Dr. Ashley said, but it is showing up day after day and dripping that water on the stone. Well,
I love
thank you
that.
so much for your time here today. I appreciate your insight and your thoughts. Where could people follow you?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is the best place to follow me. Shoot me a question if you have one. My
Yeah,
handle is at Dr. Dwyer, so Dr.Dwyer.
great. And website?
Yeah, Team BDN Coaching. So B as in boy, D as in dog, N is nutrition, teambdncoaching.com.
Excellent. I'll list all of those down in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to Ashley, follow her, make sure you check in the show notes below. Well, thank you so
Awesome.
much for being my guest today. It was amazing. I wish you all the best in your work, and thank you for everything that you do for the health community.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Now, to all of you, go move daily in your fitness, your wellness, your nutrition, and we'll see you all in the next Move Daily Talks.